Hey guys, how's it going? This is going to be an update video for the Ball Clan. This is going to be a full collection update, focusing on the ball pythons. Some of you know that I do have green tree pythons as well, just a couple of those, but this is going to focus on the ball python collection, and I haven't done an update video like this since January, and I wasn't able to show everyone. I was able to show most, but not all. Mainly due to the setup that I had, didn't really want to permit it, but this time I should be able to show everybody. As you see Brian here, who is my oldest of the collection, and he has an anniversary coming up in about a week on September 28th. That will be his 17th anniversary with me. I got him in 2005, so he's been with me for a very long time. About 5 years old when I got him, so he is in his 20s. He's estimated to be about 22 years old right now, so he's still going strong. And you'll see his partner Kay later, who also is about to reach that milestone. So yeah, without further delay, let's head into the snake room and check everybody out. All right, so I think the best way to go about this is to just go top to bottom with all three racks. So we are starting out with the top snake in the first rack, and that is going to be Gary, who you probably saw at the beginning of the video back in January. Gary is a gravel, or he is presumed to be a gravel. We won't know for absolute certain until we cut Clutch Eye here in about 3 weeks or so, but as many of you know, Gravel is in the Yellow Belly complex and actually looks almost identical to Yellow Belly. If we flip him over, you can kind of see that he looks, very similar to what you would expect to see from a Yellow Belly, as all of the traits in this complex do. The funny thing is that they do different things in their super form, and they are also allelic / codominant with one another. So what we'll be looking at is for his babies to be highway, because the female that he's bred with, Ifrit, is a yellow belly. So we'll be looking for highway babies from him. If we see ivory babies, then we will know that he is yellow belly. If we see highway, then we will know that he is gravel. So kind of remains to be seen what we do with him as far as the collection goes until we know exactly what we're dealing with. So this is Gary. He's a relatively nice guy. None of mine are really all that bitey or anything. Well, there's going to be one or two, and we'll talk about them when we get to them. But main thing about Gary is he's just kind of squirmy, doesn't want to sit still, but there he is. So let's move on, because we've got a lot of snakes to cover. I'm just going to go over here and get these from the rack and bring them over here. So next up, we have a fire bee. His name is Xavier the Third. And because of his behavior that we usually see out of him, that you're seeing right now, he is often known as Xavier the Turd, because he can be a real turd. So yeah, he's feisty. Doesn't really try to bite, but just can't seem to get him to calm down. But you can see the head stamp on his head looks very much like that of his grandfather that he's named after. And he's just never in the mood. He's just never in the mood to come out and play. So we're not going to waste a whole lot of time with him, but there you can see him, and you can see why he is referred to as the Turd instead of the Third. So we're going to let him go back home. And we're going to be looking at another generational snake right on the heels we're going to be looking at not a grandson, but a great-grandson, and he is much, much nicer. This guy is from Brian's bloodline. He is a banana Garnet, and as you'll see upon closer inspection in a little while, Brian is a Garnet, and he started this bloodline. So, seeing as how this guy is the direct great-grandson, because he has Garnet and he's also got banana, he is named after his ancestor, and we will call him Brian the Fourth. So this is the only other snake that I have in the collection that is a descendant like that. That has like a generational number in his name like that. But we will see a couple more that are second generation in a little while. But as you can see, he is very friendly and very personable, and just has a much better personality than the one we just played with. So you can kind of see the individuality with these guys when you talk about temperament. You have to remember that these guys are individuals. Each one behaves differently, whereas Xavier the Third was extremely feisty and just not very sociable at all, just doesn't really want anything to do with being handled. Brian the Fourth here is very chill. You can just kind of hang out with him if you want to. So he's also very, very pretty. This is a very pretty animal. I was really happy to hatch this guy out. All right, so we're going to need to zoom out a little bit because he is kind of small. I'm going to put him back, and then I'm going to go grab one. I'm going to grab his brother, because his brother is one that I just decided on keeping, and I'll actually have to zoom back in. But let me put him up. This guy's actually still in the hatchling rack. I've got to be very careful getting this guy out because he is actually, he has actually eaten recently, and I don't think he'll move around a whole lot. I think if I set him on the table, he'll just kind of hang out. But this is Brian. This is the sibling of Brian the Fourth, one of his siblings. He was A5 in that clutch, and he is also named Purple, as you can probably see why. Because he is the purple snake that I've been trying to produce, that I knew we kind of had the ingredients for just with Brian, just with the Garnet bloodline, but then when we brought Buster's bloodline in here with the banana and the Mojave, we got enough pattern reduction to really bring out the purples and suppress the yellows. So that's really cool. I was really excited to get him. And the thing about him, the reason he's still in the hatchling rack is because he was having trouble starting out feeding. I was actually having to assist feed this guy. And just in the last week or so, he's starting to take food on his own. So I'm really excited about that we're finally going to get him started growing and catching up with the others. And as you can see, he's got a nice big meal in him right now. And that's why I'm trying to be really gentle with him and not really rough him up too much. So since he is starting to want to move around, I'm going to go ahead and get him back in his little hatchling tub that's right over here. And we're going to move on. Honestly, I really intended to come up with a better name than Purple. It's just, I don't know. I know it's not very original, and I was looking for something clever, but I don't know. It just, the name stuck while I was trying to find a better one, so I guess he's just Purple now. All right, moving along. This is a cool one. This is a 2021 baby. This is a Super Pastel Ivory, which you're going to see more than one Super Pastel Ivory. You're going to see her dad, Ivan, here shortly. Her name is Xena. And the cool thing about this one, other than the fact that it's a Super Pastel Ivory, so it's going to be a guaranteed pastel yellow belly donation every time I breed her, but she is also, if I keep track of my hatchlings in the order that they hatched out of their eggs, she is actually the 100th baby overall that I have hatched. So Her name, Sienna, is actually a play on cien, which in Spanish means 100. So if you know your Spanish, you will probably understand that pun before I had to explain it. But anyways, this is Sienna. She is a super pastel ivory, possible fire. We won't know if she's fire until we actually breed her out and see if she throws any fire. We may breed her with someone like Tusk, just to see if we can pull that out of her and find out for sure. But anyways, we're going to move along from Sienna. Try not to have too much downtime in between snakes, but I do have to walk over here and grab them. Now, moving on to a few 2020 babies. You're going to see 3 of them, and they're all siblings. The first of them is going to be Buzz. Now, Buzz is named after Buster, who was his dad, who sadly passed away in 2020. Actually, he passed away the day before this clutch started to hatch. So it was kind of sad. I mean, it was very sad that I had to lose him. He, if you remember back, he had a mouth infection, Buster did, and we were back and forth to the vet for just months and months, and never, about the time we would get it under control, we'd get off the antibiotics and then it would come back, and it was just a really sad situation. But before he got sick for the last time, he did manage to sire this clutch, and so this baby here looked the most like him, so I chose to name him after Buster and call him Buzz. So he is a banana Mojave, might be Garnet. I'm not sure. I think we missed Garnet with this one. I think he's just banana Mojave, because the little guy purple that you saw is actually his son. It's actually his direct offspring, and there was a lot more pattern reduction there, a lot less of the patterning on top. So I think the Garnet had an effect there. But this is Buzz. He's another of the more chill ones that I like to get out and just kind of hang out with, and very pretty. But he has a sibling that gets all the attention, and we're gonna take a look at him. While Buzz is pretty in his own right, his brother Basil right here gets all the attention, really just steals the spotlight. Now, he is definitely banana, as you can see. He also got all the freckles. Buster was known for having a lot of freckles, even though he had apparently Mojave. He still had a ton of freckles, and that seems to have passed on to Basil here, because this is like the king of freckles. I've never seen anything quite like this one, but he's another really chill one. I took him to the last expo, and he was one of our ambassadors, along with Tusk and Brianna, who will come along a little bit later in this video. So he may have Garnet. He had some babies. He produced some babies with Twilight earlier. Well, actually, they just hatched. They're in their first shed. So I probably won't be able to show them in this video, but I may show them in an update video in a couple of weeks that look like they may have Garnet showing up. So yeah, this may be a banana Garnet, kind of like Brian the Fourth, but different. So that's kind of interesting that Garnet seems to be manifesting itself in 2 different forms within the same bloodline. So he's looking like he's about ready to try to take off. So we're going to go ahead and send him back to his home. And there's one more sibling out of these 3, or out of this clutch, that I kept. And that sibling is Mabel, who is, I believe, either a pure Mojave or possibly a Mojave Granite. And we've got a little bit of mulch stuck to us. You're going to see more of that when we get into this middle rack with these other females. They just like to get really disgusting with the mulch. But she is, of course, going into shed. I apparently can't possibly show this many snakes without one of them being in shed. But as far as the name Mabel goes, if you're familiar with the show Gravity Falls, one of the characters in the first episode was given a grappling hook, and that was one of her like signature things, was the grappling hook. And this marking right here just makes me think grappling hook every time I see it. So it was really impossible not to name this animal Mabel. So that is how she got her name. She may be breeding size this year, so we'll see how that goes. She's getting real close, and I haven't really taken inventory to see who I want to breed and what I want to breed for, but she definitely could be a candidate getting into this breeding season. So this is Mabel. She is a Mojave, possibly Mojave Granite. That remains to be seen, but let's move on. All right, I've got two here, two siblings, and I'm going to show them together. And this is actually two siblings that you saw in an earlier update video from this year. They are a couple of banana spider combos. I have nicknamed them Briar and Brambles. So Briar on the left, he is a banana spider Russo, and we're a little bit of mulch all over us, and a little bit of stuck shed there too, so gonna have to deal with that. But he's just now starting to get his little freckles coming in along his back, so you can see a few of those starting to show up right here, right in here. But he is a banana spider Russo, and he would look pretty much identical to a banana spider, but I know Russo is there because of Lucy, his mom, being the blue-eyed leucistic. So we know that she either donated lesser or Russo, and since this is clearly not a banana lesser bee, it has to be Russo. So speaking of banana lesser bees, this is his brother Brambles, and he is a banana lesser bee. So you can see, again, very, very pretty, just really pretty combo, and not sure that I'm going to be able to keep these guys, so I'm probably gonna, they're gonna end up being available, but I'm just gonna kind of enjoy them while I can. So you can kind of see him. Not really getting the freckles, but I do think that lesser with banana tends to limit the amount of freckling that they get. So he's either going to get no freckles at all or just a very low amount of them. All right, so let's move on from these two. All right, so we've got a 2014 baby, so we're going to start getting into some larger ones now. We're going to start getting into these bigger females. Now, Trinity, this is Trinity, and she's not a huge female, but she is certainly bigger than the ones we've seen thus far. She's sitting about 1,600 grams or so. But she's another fire bee. She was the first fire bee that I hatched in 2014. That's the main reason that I still got her, is that she's kind of sentimental in that when I first started breeding, this is the morph that I wanted to produce. This was the morph that kind of got me in love with the idea of breeding ball pythons and getting serious about it, was to make this morph. So I had, Mocha, who was a pastel, and then I bought a fire spider, Diablo, who you've seen in previous videos, who sadly passed away this year. But breeding those two did produce a fire bee for me, so that was Trinity. And she's very calm. She's one of my nicer ones, as you can see. Not very temperamental, unlike the last fire bee that I showed you. I don't think we will see anything. I don't think we'll see anything quite that quite that antisocial, quite that belligerent as what we saw with Xavier the Third, but that's Trinity. And since you've already seen a fire bee tonight, at least you're getting a better look at one, you know, one that's like trying to hold still for you so you can actually see what the morph is supposed to look like. So we appreciate that, Trinity, but we're going to go ahead and send you home so we can keep moving. All right, so moving into the middle rack, these are going to be our bigger females. This is going to be Ifrit, who has a clutch due to cut in about a month. Here, I think, well, actually a little bit less than a month. I think October the 12th is the expected cut date, but we may have to zoom out because these females are going to get fairly large. She doesn't have all of her weight back, but at one point she was about 2,500 grams. So she's fairly large and very pretty. She's kept her color really, really nicely, which I guess happens when you have the fire trait. But she is a Superfly Yellow Belly. She's Super Pastel Fire Yellow Belly. She is Sienna's mom. So the Super Pastel Ivory that we showed you earlier, this is her mom. It came from her clutch last year. She is a little bit more touchy than Trinity, so I'm having to be kind of gentle with her so as not to really stress her out. But really pretty and almost kind of a paradoxing going on here. I don't know. There was some debate whether or not she actually was a paradox. But whether or not she is, because, you know, she's got a little bit more on her tail here, a little bit more of the white. So I don't know if that's just the fire gene really just turning it up a notch in those two spots, or if there's actually some paradoxing going on. But nonetheless, she is very pretty. And yeah, very proud of this one. So let's move on. She'll probably get the year off next year. This will be her second year. This was her second year to lay a clutch of eggs, so she'll get next year off. And we'll focus on some others. So let's see if we can gently get her back in her tub here. And let's take a look at another Super Pastel who is hungry, but we're not going to get bitten tonight. And this is really that was really just a food response. This is Saffron, and she is actually pretty nice. She's just a little bit, excited because I think she maybe thought that there was food coming. So, all right, Saffron, I just told everybody that you were good, and now you're being sketchy. So let's see if we can just pull it together for like 2 minutes while I talk about you. She is a Super Pastel Yellow Belly. She came from Mocha and Ivan. So this was one that I just bred for. This was just a morph that I liked. I liked the orange, and I knew that putting the Yellow Belly with Super Pastel would bring out these kind of orange, kind of goldenrod colors. So that was just something that I wanted to produce and was successful in doing in 2017. So she is 5 years old this year. So that is Saffron, obviously named for her color. If you want to go look up Saffron, you'll see that it's you know, whether you're talking about the plant or the color, it's kind of a goldenrod yellow color like this. So anyways, there she is. So we're going to move on. I know this video is going to be long, but we're just going to do it. We're just going to go with it. I want to get everybody this year or this time, and now we're going to get into one that's also kind of moody. This is going to be Onyx, and this is one that I did not get to show last time for some reason. All right, let's see if we're going to be nice. Oh, get over it. You can just get over it. So there she is. She is an Orange Dream. I got her in June of last year in a deal, kind of a package deal. Gary also came in that package deal. I got several of them in that package deal. I didn't keep them all, but I did keep this one. I did keep Gary, and I did keep Garnet, who we'll see in a little while. But I'm hoping that she doesn't try to strike at me, because this one can be a little bit questionable. But she is a Orange Dream, and I haven't really decided what I'm going to do with her just yet. I would like to get into some Orange Dream stuff, but I'm looking at you, Onyx. Don't even start with me. I'm watching you. Yeah, she can be a little bit sketch, but anyways, hoping to eventually get into some Orange Dream stuff. I just haven't quite decided what I want to pair her with, so she's just kind of hanging around, being her grumpy self, until I figure out what I actually want to do with her. So there she is. We're going to let her go back home. She just wants to be mad. I mean, I was putting her up and she was still aggravated, and she got my table all dirty too. All right. Next is another one of my older ones. She turned 8 years old this year. She can be a little bit on the grumpy side as well. She's also one of my larger snakes, and she was kind of a dream morph at the time. And I really wanted to produce one of these, but in the end, I ended up just buying one because I ended up having enough money in the fund to just go out and get one. But this is Ditto. I got her as a baby, and obviously she is no longer a baby. She's sitting at well over 2,000 grams now. I think she's probably closer to 2,500 grams at this point, and if you can see her, she's not really one that likes to sit still. I can get her to sit still. It's just it's getting her to that point, getting her to kind of calm down out of this running away mode that she's in, and just kind of getting her to chill out. If you can ever get her to that point, then she's usually pretty good. But you kind of got the idea. She is a super fire. She is a black-eyed leucistic, not to be confused with blue-eyed leucistic. She does have black eyes. If you'll hold still, there you go. You can kind of see her eyes now. Very pretty morphs. One of my favorite morphs. I mean, it's a very simple combo. Just a single trait, single gene, homozygous super fire, but still one of the best. Still one of my favorites out there. And this kind of orange yellow splotching is more prominent when they're young than it is when they're old. You can see that it fades out. In fact, I have a younger super fire, which is one of her babies from this year. And I'll show you the two together in comparison. You can kind of see how the yellow patterning changes as they get older. So you can see this one says D5 from earlier this year. And you can kind of see the difference between a young super fire and an older super fire. But I still believe that they are very pretty animals regardless. Regardless of the fading, that doesn't really bother me that much. It's just one of those things that you just kind of be aware that it happens. But anyways, we're going to move along here. It looks like D5 is going to chill for a minute, so we're going to get Ditto out of the way since she wants to run off. And then we'll move D5 because, you know, he's pretty content to just hang out right there. All right, we're definitely going to need to move D5 because the next one coming out is going to be as squirmy, if not more squirmy than Ditto, and she is 500 grams bigger. This is one of my largest. This is my second largest snake in the collection. That is, of course, Pearl. And you didn't get to see her back in January, but you will be getting to see her now, and I'm just going to hope that she'll be still. She's not unfriendly. She's not like defensive or aggressive or anything like that, but she is very mobile. So we're going to see if we can get her to sit still long enough to get a good look at her. She is a firefly. It's a fire pastel, and she will probably be bred this year. She will get bred to Tusk this year because she took this year off. She had she had a nice clutch in 2021. Really nice clutch, and she, yeah, like I said, just cannot seem to get her to sit still. I'm going to zoom the camera out just a little bit to try to give you a chance to get a good look at her. She's got a hold of the table, but here we go. Come on, Pearl. Come on, Pearl. Just be nice. Be nice, just for a second. Just for a second. Can you do that? She's going to knock the camera over. Is the problem? So what I'm trying to keep her from doing is knocking the camera over, and trying to keep her still without actually, hurting her. But that's Pearl. She is a firefly. She is the second largest snake in my collection. She's about 3,000 grams, maybe pushing 3,100 or so. So very difficult to contain when she wants to move around and be contrary the way she is right now. But anyways, very pretty nonetheless, and we will probably be seeing a clutch from her in 2023. I expect to breed her with Tusk to produce some more super fires, and not so much to produce a clutch of only super fires. That'll also produce fires and fireflies for those of you who are looking for less expensive varieties. Firefly is still very pretty, as you can see, and a little bit more in the price range of somebody than, say, a Superfire would be. So we're going to move over to Lucy, and Lucy is... I didn't name her, okay? She is a blue-eyed leucistic, which is often called a blue-eyed Lucy, so I'm pretty sure that's why her previous owner named her that. She likes to get dirty, so I'm going to go ahead and put her out here and let you see her, but just know that she has mulch all over her because she likes to turn her water dish over and make the cage disgusting and then wallow in it. So she's probably going to be getting a cage change at some point in the next day or two. So as you can see, she has kind of a bad eye, so we're going to turn her around this way so you can see her good eye and see that she is a blue-eyed leucistic as opposed to Ditto, who was a black-eyed leucistic. So there you go, you can kind of see that blue eye. She does have kind of a sketchy eye over here, and looks like we might have gotten a rat bite, so that'll probably come off in the next shed. But just got a lot of dirt. She just likes to get dirty, but she's really neat. She does have spider, which we found out, which actually I figured that out just by watching her move. Like, just watch her head move. So you can see how she kind of turns upside down, and yeah, she kind of has that head wobble. So she was obviously spider before I even bred her. I totally expected to see that come out, and I was not disappointed. But she is apparently, I thought she might be Lesser Mojave. We got Lesser right, but apparently Russo is the other gene, because the other babies that were not Lesser looked almost normal. So the general consensus was Lesser Russo Spider was the morph on this girl. So we're going to go ahead and put her away because she's also not wanting to sit still. And I think that some of the fault lies in this table because it is kind of smooth. And so when I set them on this table, they really don't have anything to get a hold of, and it makes them less than secure. So that's probably the reasoning behind some of them being kind of squirmy on the table. Although several of those are squirmy anyway. All right, now down here to the bottom. So we got another one that just shed. Now this one's going to be expecting food, so I'm going to have to come at her from behind. Come on, Xena. You're good. There we go. You're fine. Okay, and this is one of the Clutch B babies from 2014. I guess this is one of the first ones that you're seeing. But there was a kind of a landmark Clutch B in 2014 that had 5 really neat babies that I kept for a long time. I have 3 of those now, and this is the first of them. This is Xena. She is a Garnet, as you can see. As opposed to a normal, she's got these nice little speckles going on here. And not sure what that is going on there. It's just this like white area for some reason. But really pretty example of a Garnet. We have not bred her yet, but I'm kind of hoping to do that this year and see if hers passes on. It should. We have had that pass on through the bloodline. It started with Brian. Brian is her dad. So this is Xena. So we're going to move on to some, well, we're almost to the males. We're over into the left rack now. So we've got a couple of, we've got one more female. Actually, we've got our oldest female. Let me go ahead and grab her out of here. This is another of my larger snakes in the collection. She is probably rivals Pearl in size. She is at least third biggest. She and Pearl are pretty close, actually. But this is Kay. Those of you might remember. I don't know how many of you watching this video would have followed me all the way back from the beginning, but she's been around a lot longer than that. I think the issue with these guys being sketchy on the table is that they're having trouble getting a hold of anything. I think it's kind of a security issue. Whenever they sit down, I think it freaks them out because the surface is really smooth. But Kay is kind of squirmy anyway. She is for a while, unless you can kind of get her calm. But she is actually my only normal in the collection, and I've got to really watch her because she's so big. She's kind of like Pearl. She's not as big as Pearl, so and she's close, but she's definitely not as big as Pearl. But she's actually the only true normal in the collection. But she is very old. I got her in 2006, only maybe 5 months after Brian. So she too was in the 5-year-old range, so she will also be about 22 years old. So this is one of the original pair. Getting a good look at her. I should zoom out just a little bit, but if I do that, then I'm going to lose my hold on her. But definitely one of my more sentimental ones. I mean, even though I probably will never need to breed her again, I definitely will never want to get rid of her. She's kind of one of those priceless ones that you just keep because of, you know, how you got started. So we're going to let Kay go on and take a look at her other half, who you saw at the beginning of this video, but you're about to get a closer look at. So let's get Kay back in her tub. I do wish that some of these would sit still a little bit better for you, but this is just the trade-off here between being able to look at them in their cage versus being able to look at them up close. But this is the guy that got it all started, and just like Xena, he is Garnet. So you can see he's got the speckling here, and here, and here, and pretty much all over. So really good right here. So he actually is the patriarch of that bloodline. This is Brian, of course. He's the guy that got it all started, and of course he, in about 1 week, on September 28th, has his anniversary coming up, so he will have been here for 17 years with me. So I got him in 2005, so really, really special one here. It's one of those ones that you know, to anyone else, especially to someone who just started following or whatever, that doesn't know, he doesn't really look like much, but this one is extremely special. So hopefully he'll stick around for more years to come. He's, you know, like I said, he's about 22 years old now, and doesn't really show any signs of slowing down. So if he wants to stick around for another 22 years, it will not hurt my feelings one little bit. So this is Brian, and see, he's going to sit still for us. He's going to be nice. The next one we're going to see is going to be his daughter, who is named after him, and I just bet you she'll sit still for us also. So if we're done admiring Brian, he's got his bloodline in just a whole bunch of babies that I have now. 3 of the 5 clutches that I hatched this year, he is the the ancestor of. He's at the top of the family tree for 14 of the babies that I hatched this year. So that's 14 great-grandchildren for you. And you probably don't even know what that means. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and let him go home so we can move along. We've got some really special ones coming up. This rack that I'm in is kind of a sentimental rack. These are the ones that probably I don't breed anymore, but I'm way too attached to them to ever let them go, or, to ever sell them. These are the ones that I would consider priceless, as far as trying to put a value on. Now then, you've seen my second biggest snake, and you've seen my third biggest snake. But this, Brian's daughter, is the biggest in the collection. She is about 3,500 grams. Well, she would be about 3,500 grams, but she still has yet to put on all of her baby weight from 2021. So she is really about 3,300 grams right now, which is still extremely big, but she's still got a little bit of frame left. She's a larger snake than that. But this is Brianna, and as you can see, she is extremely chill. She has no problem sitting still for us, and she is one of my ambassadors because of that. Another thing that's really special about Brianna here, she's named after Brian, obviously, because she has his same pattern, and she is from his first clutch that I successfully hatched. She is the first baby. She's baby number 1. You saw baby number 100 back there with Sienna? This is baby number 1. This is Brianna, hatching back in 2009. So she turned 13 years old this year. And she is just an absolute sweetheart. I mean, you can just, you don't even have to worry with her. I could walk off into the other room and do something and come back, and she probably would still be sitting here waiting for me to come back and pick her up. She's that chill. So she makes a really good ambassador. She's bred. She's had, her share of clutches, but she's probably at this point retired from breeding. I think the last couple of clutches, she's had a lot of trouble getting the baby weight back and really bouncing back and getting the weight back on. So considering I've got better stuff now and I just don't really want to put a whole lot more strain on her, she's probably good to retire. So she is full-time ambassador now, and she does a great job at it. She has gotten a lot of people over their fear of snakes, along with the one that I'm about to show you. So let's get Brianna put away. I hope you guys were prepared for a long video, because this thing's going to go about an hour. Pretty sure this video goes about an hour, because I'm going to get all of them today. Hello, Tusk. Tusk looks hungry, which is ironic because he ate last night. Come here, buddy. You're not getting fed. This is another ambassador. This is another really, really chill animal, and he's just a little bit, getting out of his cage is a little bit much for him, because he always seems to expect food, but this is Tusk. He is a super fire, and unlike Ditto, he's a pure white super fire. Usually he's pretty chill, but sometimes when you set him down, he can get a little bit antsy. Again, I think it's just this. I think it's just the texture of this table is not really agreeing with them as much as they'd like. But he is a black-eyed leucistic super fire, just like Ditto. Only he does not have the yellow spots, but he does have the black eyes, as you can see, and he's going to be a lot more cooperative as far as me showing those to you. Another common ambassador. This is one of the most. This is really one of the most beloved snakes in the entire collection by a lot of people. He's gotten a lot of people over their fear. This is one of the most common ones for me to bring out when people want to see the collection and maybe, try their hand at holding one. Tusk is usually the go-to. So, and he's also breeding. He also is a pretty good breeder. He's sired, let's see, I guess 3 clutches so far. So, not the most prolific breeder. He's normally an ambassador, but he does breed from time to time, and he will breed this year with Pearl. So we can get some more of these super fires going. So, this is Tusk, and yeah, that's all there is to say about that. He's just really awesome. So, let's go ahead and let him move on back to his home, and we will move on down the line to one that's probably not going to be as well behaved. This is one that just hatched a clutch, and seeing as how the last load of babies were called Clutch T, you probably know that this is going to be Twilight. Let me see if I can get her out. If I can get her out without disturbing her too much, maybe she'll sit still long enough to get a good look at her. So Twilight is a banana GHI black pastel. So she is a very interesting looking snake. She is very purple. She's not quite as purple as she was whenever she was a baby. It looks like some of the yellow is starting to kind of take over, but she's still got a lot of that purple going on. And let's see if we can find her head, because I think once her head shows up, she's going to be trying to escape. So there's her head. So we're going to kind of get a look at her while she's being good before she decides to take off. Or are you going to sit here and let us look at you? Because that would be awesome if you would. I just, it's not in your nature. That's all I'm saying. So this is Twilight, and you're going to see her babies in an update video here in a couple of weeks, because they're all going into shed. Her clutch is the one that had the Paradox baby. So that's really cool. And yeah, she's probably about to take off on me. So she's putting her weight back on really good. So if she continues to do that, I'll probably go ahead and pair her again this coming season. I'll probably pair her with Buzz to try to get Mojave in there with all that, so we can probably get some really purple snakes out of that clutch. Because we saw what Buzz did with Amber. He put a lot of purple out just with Amber. And so you can only imagine what he would do with a snake that's already purple in the first place. So let's get back into another white snake. This is the father of Xena, that little baby number 100. This is Ivan, and you're going to find that he looks an awful lot like her. So this is Ivan, and what do you have on your face? He loves to get dirty. Him and Sienna both. They really like to get dirty. I'm going to have to clean his face off. He's got some dirt or something on it, but you can kind of see him, but he doesn't really like for me to mess with his head, so that's going to be something that happens off the camera. But he is a super pastel ivory. He's proven over and over again that he never throws anything that isn't pastel or yellow belly. So he's been a really good breeder over the years. I don't know if he'll breed this year. It really depends on what happens with Gary's clutch, with Gary and Ifrit Clutch I. But yeah, we're gonna have to clean his head off. He's not gonna appreciate it, but it's gonna have to happen. If I will say if Gary proves out to be yellow bellies, if I get ivories, then I'll probably breed Ivan to Garnet to try to prove her out as gravel. If Gary proves out gravel, then I will breed Gary with Garnet to try to produce super gravels to prove her out that way. So Ivan, his plans really depends. He's really sniffing at me, really sniffing at this table. But yeah, let's move on because this is, like I said, it's still getting very long. I expect this to go close to an hour. So that was Ivan. And we're going to go to another very sentimental one, which I think, yeah, and you hear him hiss just like his dad, but that's not an aggressive hiss. That's just little X. That is just little X. That's just how he is. But he is a pastel spider lesser. He is a queen bee or lesser bumblebee, however you want to look at that. He is the direct offspring of Xavier and acts just like him, right down to the hissing when you get out of the cage. But he's, as you can see, he's really chill. Doesn't really misbehave too much. But this guy here is kind of special because of his history. He was kind of a failure to thrive. I didn't think he was going to make it as a baby. He refused food for over 2 months. To the point where I was having to actually force feed him to get anything down him. And, well, we just kind of stayed the course, and I was patient with him, and, he got to a point where he was so thin that I just didn't think he was going to bounce back. But then eventually the force feeds turned into assist feeds, and then the assist feeds turned into taking food on his own. And once he did that, it's kind of like Purple over there. Purple, he didn't take nearly as long as this guy did. But the comeback that this guy made is just remarkable. I mean, he's fully, he's a fully healthy adult. He turned 6 this year. He was hatched in 2016. So, but you would never know. If I hadn't told you that story, you would never know that he got a bad start. So we love little X, and he's one that's going to stay with us for indefinitely. So, but he is still a pretty decent breeder. I don't have a whole lot of projects going that he fits with, but because he is a triple trait, 3-trait combo, there's always one here and there where you can throw this in there and get some cool stuff. So maybe this is who I'll actually throw to Onyx. Maybe we'll throw Orange Dream in here with this and see how that works out. But we're going to put little X away right after I show you his little X pattern. So it's kind of cool that, it looks like a little Roman numeral 12, that little XII. Being little X, he's actually Xavier the second, so, X with the 2, kind of, it's kind of a cool little stamp to have. And I've always kind of admired that about him. It's one of my favorite things about him. That I noticed right from the get-go whenever he hatched out. So I was very happy not to lose him, to not lose something like that, along with just not losing a baby that I wanted to keep. So moving right along, we've got another potential gravel here. This is Gary's partner. This is Garnet. So she's a little bit bigger. She's a female. We're trying to pack some weight on her because I really want to breed her this year. And she's sitting right at 1,500 grams. So she's right on the cusp of being able to breed. But she, like Gary, is supposedly gravel. But gravel looks almost identical to yellow belly. So until we actually breed her and get a clutch from her, we won't know for sure if she is, in fact, gravel. So she can be a little bit squirmy, so she's actually behaving very well right now, letting us get a good look at her. But I expect to breed her later this year. She's getting there, so since she has passed that 1,500 gram threshold, all I have to do is keep feeding her as we pair her throughout the fall, and she will put the weight on, so we'll find out if she is gravel. getting into next season. Hopefully we will. Hopefully both of them will prove out and we'll have some super gravels by this time next year. All right, so let's put Garnet away. We're almost done. We've got really 2 more here in the sentimental rack, and that's going to be about it because the rest of them are just going to be babies, and I've done update videos on the babies, so really we just got 2 more to look at. First up is going to be Stitch, who seems like he is always in shed when I try to get him out. Every time, it just seems like when I look at him, he's always in shed, but today, not in shed. So Stitch is another baby from that 2014 Clutch B, and he's one that's kind of a mystery. He's always been kind of a head scratcher for me because obviously he's Garnet. I mean, he definitely appears to be Garnet, but he's just such a high expression of Garnet that I kept him around kind of wondering if maybe there was possibility that there was a super form. And maybe that's what had happened because he does have Garnet on both sides. But I've never been able to successfully breed him. Not so much that he can't breed, it's just that up until now I've really had trouble finding a slot for him to really just kind of experiment with. So hopefully this year I'm thinking about breeding him out to Xena because Xena is from that same clutch and she's going to have that same Garnet going on. So that's a possible avenue for him to see what happens there. But yep, he was hatched in 2014. His name comes from the fact that when one, he's kind of an experiment because I don't really know what he's going to do whenever I breed him. And also, when I took the first picture of him, when he hatched out of his egg, the timestamp was 6:26 p.m. So that's kind of how he got his name. I just kind of nicknamed him Stitch, and the name kind of stuck. So there is Stitch. Another snake to turn 8 this year, and we're going to get his very close sibling who hatched on the same day, and that will be the last snake that we look at today. This will pretty much wrap up the main collection. So this one has an interesting story too. This is going to be Amber. Now, she doesn't quite, and she's still kind of putting on her baby weight, so she's going to look, or kind of getting her baby weight back from her clutch. But she's getting there. She's going to get it back on there. She doesn't look very amberish now. She looked kind of a fairly normal color for a ball python, but when she was born, she had this really cool orangey, kind of caramel-looking color, and it was just, it reminded me of amber. It reminded me of like the resin, that they call amber. So that's how she got her name. But in the process of not really knowing what to do with this Garnet line, I ended up selling her to somebody close by that was a rat breeder that I bought from. And it wasn't very long after I sold her that I actually regretted doing so, but I never could get back in touch with the person. Until June of last year, she was the one that when she ended up getting out of the hobby, and when she did so, she got rid of all her racks and all of her snakes and ended up selling me some of her racks. So when she did that, she gave me all of the snakes that she had left. And this girl right here just happened to be in the bundle. I was looking through these and kind of deciding which ones I wanted to sell and which ones I wanted to keep. And I got to looking at this one, and I thought, I think I recognize this snake, because especially the ones that I hatched early on, I really kind of committed their patterns and their colors and everything to memory. So I recognized her little neck stripe, the shape of her neck stripe here, and I recognized the belly bars, the dark kind of belly bars under here that she has, which actually is kind of unique to this bloodline. There's several. Brianna has it, Stitch has it, Mabel has it. I didn't show them to you, but Mabel has it. There's a lot of members of this bloodline have had that feature, so that kind of piqued my interest whenever I saw that, and I was like, I know this snake. So I got to looking at my old pictures, and sure enough, I had managed to acquire her back. So I'm very glad that I did that, because her Garnet line seems to be one that passes on. This seems to be a really, this seems to be a genetically heritable one. So very happy to get her back. And this is the one we will end the video on. So this is Amber. She, of course, is the mom of Clutch A, which you saw the update video on about a month ago, probably. And yeah, all of the snakes beyond this, I do have a few other snakes in this room. Actually, I have several, but they're all babies. They're all babies from this year that are going to be eventually available for sale. And so they're not really part of the collection proper, so I'm not going to include them because you've seen them in update videos from the various clutches that I've hatched. So that will conclude this video. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you sticking around this long. This is probably much longer than any video that YouTube would want me to create, but yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. And maybe I'll do one with the green tree pythons. I don't know. That'll be kind of a short video, but I may do that. So, anyways, we're going to head back into this room to round this video out. Minus Brian around my neck, of course. And I appreciate you guys watching. If you made it this far, definitely like the video. And if you want to subscribe, by all means, subscribe. Leave me a comment. It's fun stuff. I like reading them. So anyways, that's all I got to do with this video, and hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you guys in the next one.